Hi everyone, Jessica here from Paper Ink Stamp and welcome back to my channel. So this is the next video in our Valentine's Day series and we are creating two really fun donut themed cards today. I was only planning to make one, but it turns out that my donuts were a little bit too big to add all 5 of them onto one card. So I just decided to put 3 on one and then 2 on a separate card. So we got a bonus card out of this. But I really wanted to show you that you don't need any sort of special dies. Sometimes you can just be a bit creative with what you've got. Most of us have nesting dies in our stash, and yeah, just let's get them out, see what we can create with them, just with these really simple basic shapes. So I decided to go red and black, certainly red for Valentine's Day, because again, these are more of those Valentine's Day themes. So I've taken 2 circle nesting dies. The largest one is just under about 2.5 inches. And then I've taken a much smaller one to die cut the hole from the middle. And you can see I've got 5 different colors of red cardstock here. And I'm just die cutting one of these circles from each of them. And we're going to be creating 5 different colored donuts, and this is going to be for the icing on the top. These were really simple to make. I really did enjoy making these donuts, and I really want to have a go at creating some like multicolored rainbow donuts. I think they're just a lot of fun. So you can see all 5 of my icing. These are my icing pieces. Just here's going to lay them out. We've got 5 different colors. The colors that you use, can be absolutely anything with these. You're not tied down at all because donuts can be whatever you want them to be. You can see there that I die cut 5 more of these circle shapes in the exact same. I didn't change where the holes were or anything. And these were from a brown cardstock, and that's going to be the base of my donut. So I wanted to add a little bit of dimension onto these. They look a little flat at the moment, and obviously don't forget both of these circles are exactly the same, and we're going to be changing that in a moment. But I thought maybe we should ink around the edges of these just to give it a little bit of dimension, make it look like it's got a little bit of shadow around the edge. So I'm not 100% sure what colours of ink I use, to be honest, but these are distress inks. I feel like this could be maybe like grind espresso, something like that, but I pretty much went through and just to find inks that matched the color of my cardstock as much as possible. I wanted just a little bit of shadow. I didn't want to change the color of that card. So I just went around all the way around the outside, and then for that center piece in the donuts as well. And I did the same for the reds. So I actually found pretty close colors in my reds for the icing on top, which I think just sort of changed it quite nicely. So you can see that I started to ink blend around the first one, and then I realized really what I needed to do was to trim these down. And I just literally just went for it. I didn't sort of plan how I was going to trim it down. I just kind of did a wavy pattern around the edge of this. It really doesn't have to be perfect. They all don't have to be exactly the same, and it was so simple to do. And by having them start off being the exact same size as the brown donut circles, it meant then I knew they were going to fit on there, and I was literally just taking a small amount off the outside of it. You can see I'm really not taking too much off here. They're still going to fit on there perfectly, but you're still going to then see that donut afterwards. So definitely needed to trim these down first and then go in and just ink them in the exact same way. The colour does come back a little bit, it does sort of knock back a little bit, and we are going to do some stenciling on top of this as well. So it doesn't necessarily matter if your ink blending isn't perfect here. So you can see we've got them. I've cleaned up my sticky mat, and it was a lot easier to put them on the sticky mat just to make sure that they didn't move and it just didn't get my fingers too inky. So I've got this stencil here. This is quite an old one from Hunky Dory, and it looks like sprinkles, absolutely perfect for this. So I decided to just ink through black. I decided to do red and black. It's not a combination that I do very often, but I thought maybe it was quite Valentine's, quite love themed. So yeah, I just sort of went with this. So I used the black soot in the distress ink and just stenciled through this stencil, and that gave me then my sprinkles on top. So what you could do here, and maybe if I was to do this again I probably would, is you could use any of your pastes that you've got, whether it's like a glitter paste would look really nice on this. You could just mix some different pastes together. You could even use something like Nuvo drops to go through that stencil as well, just to give it a little extra detail, a little bit more embellishment, to make it a little bit more special. Sometimes I find that I don't always, sometimes a little bit lazy, to be honest. If I'm honest, I was doing this really late at night when Florence was asleep, so I just kind of wanted to do it. But sometimes I do look back and think, oh, I wish I'd done this to make it a little bit more interesting. But I was still really happy with how these cards turned out. So I added foam onto the back of the icing to give it that little bit of dimension again, make it look like it was two separate pieces. And then I got my DL size card out, realised then these were a little bit too big to add all of them onto the card front. So this is where I decided to do 3 on one, like I said, and then we're going to use the other 2 on a really simple design on a smaller card. But then I decided to turn this into, or to make it look like they were in a box. So we're going to create a little sort of lid. It's not going to be a functioning box or anything like that. It's just going to be a piece we're going to add to the top. So I took one of my DL nesting dies. So again, nesting dies that we've all got in our stash. We can create some really great things with them. That was the stitched one, yeah, that had just that extra stitch detail in there. And then the inverted scallops I used to create an aperture on the inside, and it leaves that scalloped edge on the piece that we want to use, so on the outside piece. So if you create a lot of apertures in your cards and project, definitely take a look at these inverted scallops. I'll leave a link in the description box down below. These are by Creative Craft Products. All of my nesting dies are one of their products, and I just think they're absolutely brilliant. So you can see how we've got a lovely little bit of stitch detail around the outside, and then we have that scalloped detail left on the inside. It makes it look like a proper box front. To give it more of that illusion, I've added a piece of acetate to the inside. So I'm making it be fit on this frame, within this frame. And to stick this down, I'm going to use some red liner tape. This probably is the best tape, the best adhesive to use with acetate, because it's super strong. It's going to stay in place, and you're not going to end up with kind of glue, like little bits of it splurting out or anything like that. It's going to stay in place straight away, and it's not going to create any mess at all. So this is I think the perfect adhesive to use for acetate. And what you want to do is just make sure that it's really well stuck down, and when you sort of rub it, like you can see here, it does sort of change the color of it a little bit, and you can see that it is really well stuck down. So to make this illusion of it being a box, I'm going to add some foam, some thin foam around the outside of this. It's going to lift it away from our card and just give it that little bit of dimension. So again, this is a really simple card to put together. Like I said, with the pastes and the stuff through the stencil, like you literally could make this more if you wanted to. You could make it more functioning and things like that. You could turn it into a shaker on top of that. I didn't do any of that here. The next thing that I do is just add a piece. I thought the background looked a bit plain, so I took a white piece of card and I ran it through this embossing folder. It's just a dotty, so it's the Card Making Magic simple dots embossing folder, and that just gave that background, made it look like it was sort of sat on something kind of within our box. So you can add small details just to make it appear like there's just a bit more going on with the card, or you can just keep it simple. It depends what kind of card making you want to do. Like I said, sometimes, and I think it's because I'm a little bit more under pressure at the moment to kind of get things done, I suppose, with having a baby. But I am kind of at the moment at the stage where I'm like, I just need to kind of get this done. So that is something that I want to change. And I do have a really fun series coming up, which I'm really excited for. I hope you guys are really going to enjoy it, which is just going to make us play with our stash and our products and everything a lot more. And then hopefully to pull out some products that we don't always gravitate to, rather than using the same stuff over and over again. We're going to be pulling out some new stuff. So definitely look out for that. So I've run that piece of white card through my embossing folder and I just glued that onto the card. I've got my 3 donuts. I was just looking at the space in there and I'm happy with that because I've got the dimension on the icing. I did just glue them flat onto our card base. And what I decided to do, I had this little bit of ribbon, it was like packing ribbon just on my desk, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to put it on the edge of this and make it look like it is tied up, so it is literally giving it that idea of being more of this box of donuts. I put this on the corner, and you'll see that I put another piece on the other opposite corner as well. What I could have done, and maybe thinking about it now, that it might look a little nicer, I'm not sure, is to do it sort of down and across rather than across the corner, if that makes sense. So going top to bottom, and then left to right with it. I think that would look pretty cool. But again, it's just these simple little details that you can see that really just give something when you're trying to create a pretend something. Details like this just make it that much more believable, and yeah, just sort of finish it off quite nicely. So you can see I had the bottom one just around the corner as if it was around that corner, and then up around the other corner, and then tied. I didn't tie it in a bow because, to be honest, I just can't tie bows to save my decorative bows. I can tie my shoelaces, but I can't tie decorative bows to save my life at all. So I just tied it in a double knot, and then I cut 2 more pieces of this ribbon, and then basically just tied it around. So something just very, very simple here. But again, I could have made something a little bigger, because obviously this is a bigger card. I could have gotten away with a bigger piece of decorative embellishment here like I'm doing if I had done the down and across opposed to diagonally across the corner. But then I just took my scissors, as you would if you were, you know, decorating a nice present, is I just sort of twirled the ends of this as well, and it just worked really nicely. Again, I think it just gave that illusion of being a proper box of lovely, lovely donuts. So yeah, that is just an extra bit of detail that I added on there. And then we can go ahead and add this onto our card base. So I'm just going to remove those backends for the foam, and then just add this on top, and we can go ahead and pop a sentiment. But because you've got that acetate there, it makes it look like a proper box of donuts. You've got a little bit of dimension in there as well. Like I said, you could easily turn this into a shaker if you wanted to. But yeah, I think it just came out really, really fun. So I remember that I had these were by Hunky Dory as well. I've got a couple sets of these now. They're just a small little stamp set. It's got a picture and a sentiment, and the sentiment is a pun. So with this one here, our pun reads, so you had a donut, so I could have used this donut stamp instead of creating my own, but obviously for me I just wanted to create them using the circle nesting dies, like I said, because our nesting dies are such a valuable tool in our craft stash, I believe, and really we should be trying to use them in different ways. So our sentiment reads, donut, what I'd do without you, which I just think is really, really fun. So I stamped this with black ink onto the same brown cardstock. I think this was a cinnamon brown, something like that, from Creative Expressions. So I stamped that onto a little scrap, and I used one of my nesting dies. This is an arch. I did toy with using a proper tag die that I've got, but I decided to use this one instead. I thought it just fitted that sentiment a little bit nicer. I just punched a hole at the top to give the illusion of it being a tag. So if I'd done this before, again, I probably could have actually tied this in with our decoration, but I'm just going to glue it into the corner here. But yeah, these are arched, and it's got a little stitched detail or a little dotty detail on here as well. But again, just another way of using our nesting dies to, you know, for a different purpose than just creating a background. And that is then our donut box card all finished. And then this is going to be our bonus card here. So I decided to do a little bit of ink blending just directly onto the card, because we don't always want to add bulk onto our cards. Now, let me tell you, this is those card bases I created using that Hobbycraft cardstock that I was telling you about before. So I didn't like it much for ink blending with my domed daubers. And let me tell you, with this one, I will show you when I took, so normally with the cardstock that I normally use, I don't get this problem, but where I put this tape on here, the piece at the top, or the piece on the left hand side, is going to rip the surface of our card base off. So I was really frustrated with that. So this is one that I'm keeping, or it'll be the one I give to my husband probably. But yeah, I will show you that in a second, just what it did to it. I was really careful with taking my tape up as well, but I think I'm pretty sure I've got like 100 or a pack of 200 or something like that. So I'm going to create card bases from it, but I'm going to have to remember not to be doing anything like this. They are just for basic card bases. Other than that, I particularly don't rate this particular cardstock, to be honest. So I just took some of those red inks again, and yeah, just did a little ink blending strip. I really like doing this. So you can see I'm trying to work out if I put the lids back on the right inks there. But yeah, I really love just creating a strip like this. this. I usually like it on like a 5x7 card, and then whether it's a strip of patterned paper or you're creating a strip like I am here, I just really love having that strip. It's a really nice, clean and simple design. A sentiment that's just stamped on there, and then something, an image that's just got a little bit of dimension on it, to, you know, add a little bit of interest to quite a simple card. So you can see I'm just pulling it and you can see it's starting to peel off here. So I just kind of went for it. I thought, well, there's no point being precious at all now because my card base is ruined. So, you know, these are handmade cards. Things do happen. Like, I wouldn't just chuck this in the bin now, or, you know, I would still give it to somebody. Maybe, I don't know, maybe you say about it, maybe you don't, but you know, cards are handmade. Sometimes we drop our ink pads in it. Sometimes we get ink in. You can see there it's just taken that top layer off. Sometimes we just make mistakes on our cards, but that really shouldn't mean that, you know, those cards aren't good enough to give somebody. You could, so like I put that right hand donut slightly higher. You could try and hide if you've got a mistake, like add in embellishments, sequins, Nuvo drops, things like that over mistakes is a really great way of hiding them. Sometimes we can mask them a little bit, but other times like this, it just is what it is. And, you know, you just kind of go for it, really. So I stamped my sentiment. So you can see that I added that sprinkles stencil as well over that strip just to make that fit in as well. Stamped my sentiment, and I'm just adding these donuts on with some thicker foam. So these are the Chloe Creative Cards roll of foam, and they are a lot higher, and yeah, just make things stand out a little bit more. And then simply to finish this card, I added a few Nuvo drops in the black just around, just to sort of tie everything together. And that is my two cards. So I had my first card, and then I ended up with a bonus second card here as well. So let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Let me know if you're going to use your nesting dies for something a little bit different. So I'm going to bring the other one back in here as well. I just think they're so much fun, and I definitely want to try these in colours, rainbow, that kind of thing as well. So yeah, that's going to be it for this video. So thanks very much for watching, and happy crafting.